Good morning, good morning. Welcome to In the Garden with Joyful Living. I am your host, Kimberly Dixon. As you can see, I am on quite a bit earlier than I normally am, and that's for two reasons. Excuse me. Number one is it's about to rain, and although I'm not afraid of rain, and my daddy used to tell me that I won't melt if I get wet, I don't want to be outside in the pouring rain trying to do a broadcast. But the main reason is my neighbor is getting a new roof, and the workers are here, and they are on top of the roof doing their prep work now, and I don't want to wait until they start hammering and doing all the noisy part of the process, which goes right along into our topic this morning. It's a process. They're doing the prep work now, but I don't want to wait until they get deep into the process before I do my live, and you guys are hearing hammering and all of that in the background. So I'm on earlier. So this morning I'm actually, good morning Lori, in the butterfly garden. And it doesn't look like much right now because it's in a different part of the process. It will bloom again, but as you can see, the hosta is developing new blooms, and all of the herbs in the back. Good morning, Nikita. They are doing lovely. The basil, I cut it back severely last week, and as you can see, it is coming back nicely. So a lot of your plants, they need to be dead-headed with the flowers, or just cut back when everything on the limbs are spent, so that they can regenerate and come back even more beautiful. The obsession-eyed verbena it's not done for the season, but it doesn't have any blooms on it now. Echinacea. This echinacea is beautiful. And in the afternoon when it's sunny and warm, all kinds of butterflies are out here. Swallowtails, the black and the tiger ones, as well as monarch butterflies. And you all know this is part of the Samuel L. Dixon Memorial Butterfly Garden. But this echinacea it's even bigger than that, because this whole garden is part of the Joyful Living garden. Last year, my brother planted some echinacea seeds. When they came up, he gave them to me. Some of them. They didn't bloom the first year. They're not supposed to. But this year they bloomed. My neighbor's sister saw some of them and asked her if she could have some seeds. Of course I obliged, but I sent my neighbor a text explaining the garden, the echinacea, how it went from my brother to me being a part of the Joyful Living garden, and now this echinacea is going to be part of a garden in Maryland. So I really thought that was just really impressive to see how gardens about community, how it's about spreading joy, how it continues to give even when you don't even really know the recipient of it. But as you can see, that was some parsley, but the caterpillars ate it all. But the main reason I'm here in the butterfly garden this morning is to talk about it's a process. It's so that you can see this process. You see those are swallowtail caterpillars. I was looking for a different type of caterpillar because there were some out here yesterday. More swallowtail. That's a big boy right there, swallowtail. And as you can see, this is, it was a celery plant. But it's important that if you have there's another caterpillar. And actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a cocoon in there. But it's important that you have plants in your butterfly garden that are going to feed the caterpillars, a place for the cocoons to hang, a place for the butterflies to eat. All of that is part of that ecosystem, and if any one element is missing, then you don't have a flourishing garden that you would like. More caterpillars. On one, oh, that's a big one right there. More caterpillars. This plant here is, you can see, has been eaten. But this plant is specific to, it's butterfly milkweed. And it's specific to the monarch butterfly. You see this? It has been stripped down. that right there, trying to get it in focus. It's a butterfly bug. But this particular plant is for the monarch butterfly in particular. It acts as a host plant. It provides food for the caterpillars. Then once the flowers open up, there are some open flowers. It provides nectar for the butterfly. So it feeds the caterpillar, the butterfly, through the whole life cycle. And as you can see, there is a monarch butterfly cocoon. It's turning dark now because the butterfly on the inside is actually developing. It's a process. Those cocoons are this really pretty jewel color. I'm trying to get by without stepping on anything. And the elephant ears that were just planted this year. All of these herbs back here are some variety of sage. Now, they have never, ever been this big. I had no idea that a pineapple sage would turn into actually a bush. But the environment was right and conducive for it to really flourish. So, the butterfly garden doesn't look like much right now. It is in the middle of, Lori, can you hear me okay? It's in the process. Transformation of any kind is a process. You know, the butterfly garden, it goes through its different stages. The echinacea, it was a process. You plant the seeds, but the first year, okay, thank you. The first year, it doesn't produce the beautiful flowers because it's a process. It has to go through the maturing process. And this actually goes along with what I talked about on last week about transition. But when transformation is a process. We want things to happen so quickly in our lives. We see people go viral. We see someone develop a product or start a business, and it's an overnight sensation. And I wish that happened quickly like that for everyone. But there are times when we should intentionally go slow. So that's what I'm going to talk about this morning, the process and those times when we should slow down, when we should take our time, when we want to make sure we get it right. Because yes, you can get things out there quickly sometime and later have to go back and fix all those mistakes that you made when you were trying to do things quickly. When if you went through the transformation process slowly. My neighbor is leaving out for the weekend, so just waving at him. When you got good neighbors, you always appreciate that. So the first time that you want to proceed slowly when you're going through the process is when you don't have all the facts. So often we see some story hit the news, or we see something on social media, and immediately we are commenting on it. Immediately we are sharing it. We are talking to other people about it, but we don't have all the facts. We don't know the backstory. We don't know what happened in between these clips. We don't know what happened before they started filming to lead up to this. And prime example of that, y'all, I lost my cool in CVS. I am the Joyful Living Coach, but I am human. I lost my cool in CVS probably about 2 months ago now. But the whole time my child has been with me, every month they mess his prescription up. And I mean every month. And every month it ends up being me having to wait in there an hour and a half, because they just would not do what I had to explain to them that needs to be done. So the last time, before I lost my cool, I went in CVS. I told them all the facts, everything they needed to know about how they needed to submit that prescription so that it would be approved and it would go through. I stood there. The lady says, okay, it's great. Everything's submitted. Everything is going through. You're fine. Come pick it up tomorrow. I didn't pick it up tomorrow because I know every time they say that, it's not ready. I went the following day. And lo and behold, guess what? None of my prescriptions were ready. And it was 4 of them that were being filled. So I yelled. I was like, oh my God, y'all get on my nerves. It's like every time I come in here, it's a problem. Well, they checked me out. And I left the store, but I thought about that after I left. I was like, if somebody had a camera recording, they'd have been like, what's wrong with that woman? I lost my cool, but nobody saw the 12 months prior to that, and the frustration, the time that I've spent, the energy I have taken to make sure that they do this correctly. And lo and behold, they did not do a single thing that I asked them to do, and none of the prescriptions went through. So it's time for me to pick my child up, but I'm sitting in CVS. You don't know the backstory, didn't have all the facts. Yes, I was wrong that I lost my cool. I didn't curse at them. Y'all know I don't curse. But did not know the backstory. So before we start commenting on anything, before we start sharing anything, and Lord, please, before we start sharing these articles that we read on Facebook as fact, do some research. Get all the facts before you misinform someone else and have them make a decision based on the information you gave them that wasn't accurate. In James 1:19, it says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So get your facts before you proceed. That's part of the process. Don't just take everything at his word. Laura said yes. And then the second time that we want to move slowly is when you're hurt, when you're sad, angry, or depressed. We react and overreact when we are in our feelings. Lord, don't let somebody hurt your feelings, and then somebody say something to you that can be slightly taken offensively. You'll come back at them with fast and furious when what they said may not have warranted that type of reaction. Do not, she said, woo, Lord said, woo, yes, Lord. Do not come back at somebody like that or act when you're angry, when you're sad, when you're depressed, because we will say and do things that we can't take back. This poor child at Wendell Middle School in a moment made a decision to end his life. Can't take that back. That baby was depressed, and there are a whole lot of other precipitating events that led to that. But in the moment, he made a decision that he can't take back. We make decisions in the moment that we cannot take back. Even if you go back and apologize and say, please forgive me. Some words, they sting so harshly, they sting so bad that even though you apologize and they accept the apology, the words continue to play over and over in their head. It may be for the rest of their life. How many of you have had a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, or someone in your life that was important say something to you when you were a young child in the first or second grade, and here you are now in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, and you get good morning Tuesday, my neighbor, love you, baby. You still hear the words that they said reverberate in your head. So even though they may have came back and apologized, those words stung so badly that they can never be forgotten. That's the second time that we want to be slow to move, is when we are angry, when we are hurt, when we are sad, when we are depressed, when we are all in our feelings. That's when it's time for us to proceed slowly, because life, this thing about transforming into the person that God has for us to be, that's a process. It is a process. In Jeremiah 17:9, it says, the heart, good morning, Birdie. Girl, I'm so happy for you. I've been following you. I know what's going on. Look, I ain't going to put all your business on my live, but I am so glad to see you on this morning. I'm glad Maddie is doing well as also. But Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. It didn't say some people. It said, well, and the rest of the scripture says, who can know it? It doesn't say some people. It just says the heart. That means our heart. That means my heart. That means your heart. The heart is deceitful above all things. That means that when we are in our feelings, when we are acting based on what our heart tells us, that thing is desperately deceitful. You can't trust it. And it's wicked. Who can trust you? Trust it. One thing that I have learned, good morning, Robin, as a Look at the ripe old age of 51. Got so much more learning to do. But the one thing I have learned is to never say what I will and won't do. It's like, because some of the things I said I would never do, I found myself doing it. Some of the places I found myself saying I would never go, I found myself going. At some stage, whatever the reason may be, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can trust it? Don't get into the habit of saying what you will and what you see somebody did something on social media. They took a picture. They dated such and such. I'm like, I would never do that. You don't know their individual circumstances. You don't know the situation in which they made the decision to do that. Stop judging people and talking about the decision they made when they were hurt, sad, depressed. It may not have been any of those things. But do not say what you would never do based on the life you're living, because your life can change in an instant. You could lose that 6-figure job. You could get a divorce unexpectedly. Life can shift in an instant, and you will find yourself doing things that you thought you would never do. So the second time to move slowly in this process of life is when you are hurt, when you are sad, when you are depressed, when you are angry, when you're all in your feelings. Proceed cautiously, because it's hard. We can't trust it. But then the third time you want to go slowly is when the details are important. So there's some times in our life when you want to go fast. Say, for instance, you are a runner and you run the 100. The goal is to be the fastest. But even in that, there are some times you got to proceed cautiously, because if you jump the gun too many times, you are disqualified. If you run in another runner's lane, even if you get across the finish line first, guess what? You are disqualified. But then think about other ways, like cake decorating. You are creating this masterpiece for someone's wedding. Good morning, Melinda. You're creating a masterpiece for someone's wedding, but you go too quickly and it looks sloppy. The rosettes are all crooked and it's melting because you didn't wait until the room was cool enough, or you didn't put it in the freezer. I don't know the process. That's not my area. But whatever it is that they do to make sure that that cake gets to the reception looking like perfection, you rush the process. And now the cake isn't this dream masterpiece that it could have been, because you rushed the process. When the details are important, don't rush the process. In this thing, transformation, the butterflies I showed you this morning, we got an abundance of caterpillars. We've got cocoons forming. That's a process. When God is creating something beautiful, don't rush the process. It's part of the transformation. It's all a process. You're going to be, it starts out as a larva, goes to a caterpillar, goes into the cocoon. Then it becomes a beautiful butterfly that creates joy and beauty for nature. But then it's part of this cycle that is serving a purpose. God created everything for a purpose. And that sometimes we have got to go through a process to get to that purpose. That right there, that just hit me, y'all. You got to go through the process to get to the purpose. So butterflies, they are a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece by the ultimate master. But I want you to remember, you are a beautiful masterpiece from the ultimate creator, from our creator. Not he is creative, he is the creator. So I want you to remember that transformation is a process. We don't all necessarily come out of the gate going 1,000 and overnight we have this huge success, and we watch other people and we get discouraged sometimes because we know the vision that God gave us and we know what he told us to do, but it's not showing up the way we expected. It's not showing up the way he showed us in a vision, a dream, or whatever it may be. But it's part of the process. Don't give up. When it's time for you to be a caterpillar, be a caterpillar. When it's time for you to go into the cocoon, and that means spending some quiet time away from everybody so that you can develop your wings, so that you can fly, go into your cocoon. But then when you come out with those beautiful, beautiful wings, it's time for you to soar. I want you to remember that. It's a process. Transformation is a process. We all go through it. Some things develop quickly because they are designed to and they are supposed to. But the real works of art, the real masterpieces, it takes some time to develop those beautiful wings so that they can soar. So don't get discouraged along your transformation process. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep serving your purpose. Keep serving people. Keep honoring God. Keep worshiping God. Keep serving God. And watch and see, don't you develop into the beautiful masterpiece that He had designed for you. Guys, thank you for watching In the Garden with Joyful Living. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.